I'll just
All right. Shall we begin, sir?
Hearing it, so I can hear you through the computer. That's okay.
All right. So shall we begin now?
Thank you.
Yes. We have kept it a very short event because throughout the day we had running technical sessions and all. So, but we were eager to listen to you. I request our host for today, Dr. Basudhara Roy, to start the proceedings, please.
Good afternoon from India, and we are very grateful that we are joined by Tabish Khair sir today for the valedictory session of our 3-day online international conference, All the Internet is a Stage, Shakespeare and Digital Humanities, Exploring the Bard in the Algorithmic Age. We have had 3 very fruitful days of deliberations, discussions, and I think we have ended up creating more questions than we have been able to answer. But I think that is the outcome of every good getting together, is that we raise more questions. And I think to add to these questions, we have with us this afternoon a very, very special guest. So Tabish Khair, born and educated in Gaya, Khair is a major voice, a major author, poet, academic, and a significant voice in contemporary literature. Khair worked as a staff reporter for the Times of India in Delhi before relocating to Denmark in the mid-1990s, where he completed his PhD at Copenhagen University and currently serves as Associate Professor in the Department of English at Aarhus University, Denmark. He has also held guest professorships and fellowships at prestigious institutions, including Leeds University and the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. His notable fiction includes The Bus Stopped, which has also been on our syllabus, Filming a Love Story, The Thing About Thugs, Justin and the Jihadi Jane, Night of Happiness, The Body by the Shore. And he also has 2 very interesting collections of poems, Where Parallel Lines Meet and Man of Glass. His first collection of short stories, Namaste Trump and Other Stories, was published in 2023. Khair has received major awards, including the Man Asian Award, including the Man Asian Award, the DSC Prize, the Sahitya Akademi Award, and the Encore. He has recently published a poetry pamphlet, The Quarantine Sonnets, during the pandemic, whose profits were entirely donated to a migrant worker charity. We are very, very honored to have had Professor Khair's presence here today, and we look forward to his very interesting remarks. Over to you, Tabish, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Roy. Thank you for this kind and generous introduction. And thank you, Professor Yahiya Ibrahim, Yahiya Bhai, for the invitation. How much time do I have? 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Sir, we are at your disposal.
Okay.
Whatever time you would like to take.
You had said 15 minutes, so let's say 10 to 15 minutes, okay?
Okay. All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here. I wish I could have been there in person with all of you. From what the information you had sent me and also what Professor Roy said, it sounds like you have had a great 3 days. And also because I can see that there were people there like Professor Saduddin, Professor Rizwan Khan, whom I haven't seen for many years, so it would have been so good to see all these people, and also lots of other people, I'm very sure, including some junior scholars who have been contacting me. So hopefully sometime in the future, when my life gets a bit less hectic here, I'll be able to spend more time in India and be with all of you more often. The topic itself, Shakespeare and Digital Humanities, is fascinating. And All the Internet is a Stage obviously could be a topic on its own. I'll probably say just a few things about both Shakespeare and digital humanities, though I'm not really qualified to speak as an expert. I've written a bit on Shakespeare and I have opinions on digital humanities, but I wouldn't call myself a scholar of either of the two fields. And also because, to be honest, Shakespeare is the closest that English-speaking people, including Indians and Nigerians and other people, get to, or let's say, people who read literature in English, and they get to act a bit like religious people do when their version of divinity is questioned or queried. Shakespeare seems to be the closest that literature people in English Anglophone societies have to God, and to some extent one understands that, keeping in mind the history of colonization. Letting alone the fact that Shakespeare was a great writer, obviously. But apart from that, when the British colonized the rest of us, they came to us with two things which we did not have, and which they claimed justified their superiority and the need to colonize us. One of them was actually the Maxim gun, one of the first machine guns, and the other one was Shakespeare. Shakespeare was also considered one of the reasons why England was on a necessary colonizing mission. Though I love Shakespeare, obviously, but I also have certain problems with certain versions of Shakespeare, and one of the plays I've always had problems with is Hamlet. And that might be because I ended up in Denmark, and Hamlet, as you know, is based on a story that is taken from Danish sources. The sources here call him Amled, which is AMLED, and because Danish uses soft D, that's what we pronounce Amled. And obviously. Shakespeare could not have called him Amel in England because it would have sounded more like omelette. So he had to come up with a more palatable name. Now, the play is a marvelous play. It's very, very, very thoughtful, very complex. It's not my favorite play, but definitely close to one of my favorite plays. I think my favorite Shakespeare play is probably King Lear, but it's definitely close to one of my favorite Shakespeare plays, one of my favorite plays. Except that I absolutely hate Hamlet as a character. He's so seriously irritating. Every time he comes on a stage, I've never seen a stage version of Hamlet, but if I ever saw one, and if it was really enacted the way Shakespeare seems to have put it on paper, I would probably be one of those what used to be called Chavanni class theater goers up front who would probably pull off my shoe and throw it at Hamlet because he's so full of himself. Number one. And you would recall that towards the end of the play, when Ophelia has committed suicide, largely because Hamlet has, for no reason, ended up being very bad to her. Hamlet is meandering around, philosophizing, and then he comes across this funeral taking place, and someone tells him, "Oh, it's Ophelia's funeral," and Ophelia's brother has come for the funeral. Now, Hamlet has already killed Ophelia's father, Polonius, and Ophelia's brother Leatus is extremely unhappy, and he's making a very unhappy speech. And Hamlet, of course, jumps into the grave and says, "Oh, 100 brothers cannot feel as much sorrow as I do." But until then, he has never even cared about Ophelia. He doesn't even know what happened to Ophelia. But there, like, no one can feel more than Hamlet. No one can think more than Hamlet. And to me, it seems to be a kind of classical example of entitlement. And that's the way I look at Hamlet, despite the fact that there are many other elements too. Other thing about Hamlet that I always find fascinating is, of course, the fact in which the way in which Hamlet is read in kind of lopsided ways in the West in particular. It's a bit like how people until recently read Conrad's Heart of Darkness. Okay, in the sense that Heart of Darkness was only about the human heart, but obviously it was also about a lot of things happening in Africa. And that changed luckily. But Hamlet is not yet changing that much. For instance, his famous speech, which you'll all remember, which starts with "to be or not to be." Now that's always read as a speech about suicide, which it is. Okay, Hamlet is thinking of suicide. Okay, but it's not just about suicide. If you look at the last few lines of this speech, this is what he says. And thus, the native hue of resolution, because you're thinking about what will happen, what won't happen. And thus, the native hue of resolution is sicklied over with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pitch and movement, with this regard the occurrence turn awry, and lose the name of action. Now, obviously, this is not just about suicide. He's been talking about suicide before that, there's no doubt about it. But he's also talking about revenge by doing something. Okay, so this is actually, these lines are about action, not just action against oneself, but action against the world. And that is part of, I think, Hamlet's problem. He is confused. What do I do? Do I get out of this issue by just sort of getting rid of myself, or do I actually do something and kill my uncle? Okay. On the other hand, in the West, that action bit, that protest bit, that struggle for justice bit is totally left out. It all becomes suicide. It all becomes philosophy. In a way that is very similar to what they do to Heart of Darkness, it did to Heart of Darkness, where it all becomes something about the human heart, rather than actually colonial and other structures of oppression that lead to the fact that you can come back from the Congo with just one thing, a civilized lie, which is what Marlowe comes back with. And I think these are things which are quite interesting. That's one of the reasons why I'm so happy that you're looking at Shakespeare and digital humanities, obviously, in a place like Jamshedpur, in what used to be part of my ex-estate. I've been to Jamshedpur once. I mean, the first time I went to a place outside what you would call proper Bihar was when I went to Jamshedpur, which was still in Bihar then, but it did not look like Bihar. It was very organized. There were parks, there were fountains. I'd never seen fountains work ever in my life. I was maybe 14 or 15 then. I ended up in Jamshedpur. I was so impressed. I thought, this is what the West must be like. So, and obviously, if you're going to look at Shakespeare in Jamshedpur, or in India or anywhere else outside London or wherever like that, you will look at Shakespeare in a different way. That's the best thing about it. And that also connects to what you say about digital, what you might have said about digital humanities or about digitalization. See, the problem is not what is happening and all those things. I mean, fine, there will be some advantages, there will be some disadvantages. A lot of it will have to do with money and all that. The problem is that thinking is an activity. And thinking, or actually even reading, let alone writing, reading is an activity. Reading cannot be done passively. You can watch a film passively. You can even listen to music passively. You can even listen to art passively to some extent. But you cannot read passively. You have to engage while you're reading, which means that reading requires time and effort. And that's also the question, that's also the requirement of thinking. Thinking can be done, let's say thinking cannot be done too fast. Like reading, thinking too requires time. And I think that's probably what we'll have to engage with in the digital world where everything gets speeded up. Speeding up has its advantages, but it also has a lot of disadvantages. And we need to sometime stop and think again, which is what I was trying to illustrate with kind of semi-humorous examples from Hamlet, that the question is not whether we agree or not. The question is whether we give ourselves the time to think, which means to read first and to think. So that was actually the main point I wanted to make in my valedictory address. But after this, I'll just end up by congratulating all of you for these 3 days of profound work, and wishing all of you all the best in your careers, and especially the younger scholars there, because I know how difficult it is for younger scholars, and I also know it's getting more and more difficult. My generation was relatively a bit more lucky. There were more positions, there was more funding, and so on and so forth. And every year, at least in the West, and I think India might be similar, but I get the feeling India is slightly better in that regard. In the West, funding opportunities have been shrinking. Students finish their PhDs, they hang on, keep on working part-time, being exploited endlessly for years and years and years. So I know how difficult it is, and I just wish all of you, especially younger people there, all the best. And I thank you for finding time to listen to me. That's about it, bhai. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Tabish, sir. That meant a lot. And of course, we needed that dose of humor. We needed also to rethink on Hamlet. So yes, I think Eliot complicated Hamlet more than Hamlet was complicated initially. So not only did he write that problematic essay on the problem of Hamlet, but then he also had to add Hamlet to his, love song and say, I'm not Prince Hamlet and was not meant to be. I don't know whether he was flattering himself or flattering Hamlet, but the question still persists. So thank you very, very much for bringing in ideas that will continue to last in the after, post, reminiscences of the conference. We are very grateful to have heard you today. And now I would like to invite not only our head of department, but also the mastermind behind this entire 3-day online conference, the convener, Professor Yahiya Ibrahim, so that he can deliver the vote of thanks and also talk about what he felt, and how he feels as this conference concludes. Over to you, Yahiya, sir.
Thank you so very much. First of all, I should be grateful to Tabish Bhai for finding his time. We were trying to request him to come for the inaugural address, but he said this is not a suitable time for me. 10:30 India is not suitable here at Denmark, so I'll be there in the valedictory. We are extremely grateful. Your presence itself is as a kind of a motivation for our young participants, for young researchers, and for our students also who have joined this. I would like to tell our students that when we were getting out of schools in the 80s, late 80s, Tabish Bhai was writing for the Times of India. And Times of India and Hindustan Times, these were the two craziest papers in Bihar, especially Gaya Patna region. And we used to read his articles, his columns. Nikhat Kazmi was writing for film criticism, and he was writing different kind of columns on literature, culture, and all that. So we began that, and from the core of our heart, we are extremely grateful, Tabish sir, for giving so much time and for blessing these participants, blessing this conference. We are extremely grateful to all our resource persons, Asaduddin sir, Christy Carson, who delivered the keynote address from London, Rizwan Bhai from the second keynote address from AMU, Saghir Ali and Smita Sahu and Vibha Sharma are delivering those plenary sessions, and our chairpersons. I hope, Tabish Bhai, you know Neeraj sir from Aarhus University. He was one of the chairpersons. Naresh Kumar sir, Payush Bala ma'am, Saroj Kaibarta sir, Maushmi Das sir, Jeel Chaudhary, Manoj Kumar Pathak. So all chairpersons who spent their time with us and guided our young participants. We got 40 plus papers were read out in these 3 days. Some were extremely related to the theme, some were substantially related, some were partially related, some were not so much related, but we highly appreciate all the efforts the researchers have put in, the great effort, the great zeal, and the great aim to participate it was there in each and every participant. So we are highly appreciative of each and every participant. Our own persons, Basudhara ma'am, Neha ma'am, Das sir, and Saket Kumar sir, they were all collaborating with us, helping with us every time. Two of our students looking out the technical aspects of the seminar, two of our PG students, Saurav Mandal, Sudeep Kumar Munda. And the help provided by our ex-student Shubham Kumar Pati. So we are extremely grateful to each and everyone who did their lot, who did a lot, and who did their role very honestly, very judiciously, and very dedicatedly for the successful completion of this seminar. And once again, Tabish bhai, when we look at you, we remember Haridas Chatterjee Road. We remember that very spacious bungalow of yours. And I would like to tell once again our students that when we were in the literature days at Aligarh, Tabish bhai was already there in Delhi. He was already a published writer, and we were looking at him so admiringly. But honestly, I would like to say, if Tabish bhai permits me, he's a much greater poet. I don't know why he's not doing justice to his poetry than fiction. But yes, Night of Happiness is still with me. I read it twice. I read when I read it for the first time, it was there every time haunting me, that how you converted the whole concept. In the streets of Gaya, we took Shab Barat in a very different way. We looked at it in a very different way. And you changed the whole concept of that Shab Barat in that Night of Happiness. So that was a great thing. It is the book is the novel is still with me every time. So once again, Tabish bhai, extremely grateful to you and extremely grateful to all our participants, the research scholars, the associate professors, assistant professors, everybody who participated and played their role. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Yahiya sir. And with this, we come to the end, successful end, I would say, of a 3-day online conference. The best thing about the online mode is that it is easy for people from all time zones to be with us. But what keeps on being missed is the physical interaction. And we hope that in the days to come, we will also, with the help of all of you, be organizing a physical conference where we get to meet, eat, and chat in person. So thank you very much for being with us throughout this 3-day journey. And we look forward to continued interactions on other forums. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bashu.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.